Are you lazy? The answer is probably, but today we'll see how that might be a good thing for you. If you're a jazz musician, you're probably writing lead sheets, and you're probably lazy about it because you're not including intros or outros. For those of you who don't know, lead sheets are the most basic way that you can write music in jazz, which is just the melody and the chords and absolutely nothing else. When using the lead sheet format, we often just jump right into the song. Sometimes that can sound great, but most of the time an intro can take you a long way. So the song we're going to check out today is called It Hurts to Say Hello, which was written for the 100% project. And as you can see, it was written in the lead sheet format. And there's no intro, no outro, no nothing. And this is what you would give to the band. So let's take a listen to the first 8 bars. So as you heard, it sounds pretty good already, but it kind of starts out of nowhere. Given the title and the fact that it's a bare bones but emotionally charged ballad, it kind of warrants an introduction. You really need to set up the vibe before we get along with the tune. If we think about the beginning of the lead sheet, how the recording turns out I find kind of sounds like maybe like a blossoming flower or something like that. So if we continue with that metaphor, what I'm hearing for the intro is kind of like showing a time lapse of the roots growing maybe. So what I'm hearing for this is probably something very slow and ambient. So let's go check it out. Okay, so this is where the laziness part comes in. Since I'm lazy, I'll always try to find ways to recycle stuff from within the recording that we already have because I don't want to write anything new and we're not going to have time or money to record anything different anyway. So I like the drum pattern that this song starts off with, which is this. But I don't want to just copy that because if I did, it wouldn't really lead into anything because it just continues later. And also, that would be very transparent because you would be able to tell that it's exactly the same performance. You're probably saying that I could just copy it from somewhere else because he's going to play it a lot, which is true. But in addition to all those things that I just said, it doesn't really fit with the vibe that I'm going for. It doesn't sound like roots busting out of the ground in slow motion or anything like that, you know? So this is what it would sound like if I just copy pasted it and lined it up with the beginning without doing anything. Sounds fine, but it's not very attention grabbing, I find. Alright, so let's pick the part that we want to use. So I like this part. So let's copy this. Copy a bit more than we need, just in case. Okay, so I've got some new drum tracks that are blank here. Paste those right in. If I was a normal person and I wanted to stretch this audio out, I would turn on the warp and then zoom in like this, add another warp marker there, stretch it out a bunch, and then resize these to show what we originally had. So that sounds alright, but it's kind of obvious that we just took the drums and slowed them down. So the best part about Ableton is the warp function, but an even better part about Ableton is not using the warp function. So let me tell you what I mean by that. What I also like to do with drums is to tune them down artificially. And when you do that with the warp function off, it actually stretches the audio too. And if you tuned it up, it would compress the audio. So, but I want to tune them down. So let's just go, I don't know, a lot. Let's just line it up again, roughly. So this is what that sounds like. So I'll just fix how it's lined up a bit. So we're not dealing with exactly the same area of the drum performance as before, but for our purposes, it works fine. So let's add some vibe to it. So I want to add a bit of movement with some compression. So that sounds cool, so I don't actually like how it ends anymore, so we'll get rid of that. Put a fade. Next thing I want to do is kind of make it sound like it's more underground, so to me that means getting rid of a lot of the high-end stuff. So now I feel like it could use a bit of steroids, so we'll just like bring out a bunch of the details with this. So this is a clipper. Used it in the last video, gonna see this one a lot. So it just kind of raises the volume and chops off some of the tops of the waveforms to make them more even. So let's add some of this in. So that's starting to sound good, but now we're gonna want to add some more ambience around it. So let's add some reverb to it, and we'll just mess around with the whatever default setting comes up and try to get that to work. We'll just blend it back in. Okay, so let's see how that fits in with how the song actually starts. So that sounds pretty good. Two things for me though, it's a bit long and it's a bit loud. So we'll just get rid of some of this. Let's try from here. Cool, it sounds better to me. Let's turn it down a bit too. Let's try there. So last thing I want to do is just shape it a bit more with the EQ. We'll just add another one after since we're kind of processing the end result here. So I got rid of some of the muddy stuff and some of the extreme lows because that just kind of gets in the way of stuff. And it was sounding a bit too dense for me. So if we go back to the metaphor of the flower blossoming, there's one more thing that we can do to bring that out even more. And that is to bring back in some of the high end gradually that we had originally taken out. So we'll just do a bit of automation to do that. So there's one more thing that I think we can do to make this a bit more focused, and that's take out some of the low end that's coming in through the sides. See, we have our 2 overhead tracks that are panned completely to the sides. So let's just roll some of that off. So let's start with the left side. Okay, that sounds good, so we'll just copy that to the next one. So here's what that sounds like. So if we go back to our original metaphor of the flower blossoming, there's one more thing that I think we could do to bring that out even more. And that is to actually start the high cut filter even lower to exaggerate the sense of it growing. So let's do that. So let's see what it sounds like starting it there. So since I'm a nice guy, I'm actually going to give you guys a bonus. So in the same way that lead sheets often don't account for intros, they also don't account for outros. So we can just construct an outro the same way, and it'll be a nice way to bookend the tune. So here's how the tune would end without an outro. What I want to do is use the same audio from the beginning. We'll copy it and we'll put it at the end. Okay, so to make it a bit different, what we're actually going to do is we're going to paste it and then we're going to reverse them all. So reverse. So here's what that sounds like on its own. So let's just line it up with the tune. Probably a bit earlier than that. I'll fade it in too. So if you listen to the complete version of the original, you'll notice that there are some additional bass and sax stuff going on in the end. But in the sake of laziness and the sake of keeping this video short, we'll just leave it there for today. So hopefully this video can make you realize that sometimes your laziness can be used to your advantage. And this trick of recycling stuff from within the recording is a trick that I love to use, and I use it all the time. And it's really helpful to really flesh out your music and to like embellish your arrangements and the composition even more. And there'll definitely be a lot more videos with stuff like this because this is something that I just do all the time and I love it. And as always, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below or send me a message. My name is Nick Gaumont, and this has been Milk Your Music, which I don't know if I'm gonna keep that name, but that's what it is for now. Bye.